It's like a bunch of like angry women who are just attacking a man because they hate men, right? That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be beautiful to watch, which I didn't even remember, but you can see there's Goldmember and there's Diddy on the booty right there. She saw me. She was upset that he dated me. Got it. I was physically assaulted and my nose was broken. My vision in my knee. Sheesh. Sean Diddy Combs doubling down on a strategy to win his trial. We're right in the middle of jury selection, day 2, and something new hit the docket. What is this? Oh, it's a notice of appearance from a new attorney. You see, this is fresh. We're asking ourselves, what's a new attorney coming in, skidding in here right before the trial starts? Her name is Nicole Westmoreland, and she comes out of Atlanta, Georgia, Fannyland, right next door to Big Fannie Willis, and is appearing on behalf of the defendant, Sean Combs. What is happening here? She entered her notice here, and we ask ourselves, we've got like 7 attorneys already, some of the biggest and best in the world, so what's he need another one for? Well, we're balancing the scales here in terms of race and ethnicity. We saw some stories yesterday that all of the DOJ attorneys, you can see here at the bottom of this letter, as the media has noted, are white women. Maureen Comey, Meredith Foster, Emily Johnson, Christy Slavic, Madison Smizer, and Mitzi Steiner, right? Many of these names are familiar to you. This is Maureen Comey, James Comey's daughter, who was the former director of the FBI. She also prosecuted the Ghislaine Maxwell case with help, I believe, from Mitzi and maybe more. But they submitted this letter, and so the Diddy team is very clearly working on creating the right balance of their defense team. And TMZ is reporting this, saying, Diddy is launching his new strategy, baby. I've got my second black lawyer and the feds have none. Wow. What are those white women gonna do? Says Diddy has added a second black attorney to his team of legal eagles because he just hired Nicole Westmoreland to work with his 7 other lawyers, and the DOJ is not happy about these attorneys. They wrote that letter complaining to the judge about it, saying they are working to try to get him acquitted. Now, Westmoreland will work alongside another black attorney who's called Xavier Robert Donaldson, and Diddy's leading trial lawyers are Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Garagos, who are both white. Now, having 2 African-American lawyers on Diddy's legal team is an interesting move, says TMZ, considering that his camp pointed to race as a major factor in what they say is a federal takedown of a rich, successful black man, right? So the defense is going to be racism, and all these white chicks are prosecuting him. Now, Diddy's other attorneys are Brian Steele. We saw him from Fannyland, Alexandra Shapiro, Jason Driscoll, Anna Esteveo. Heavy hitter Mark Garagos also set to play a major role. He's already been in a contentious background factor, and the DOJ is not happy about him. So they sent a letter into the judge complaining, there's too many lawyers. They're all just working together, and they're not letting us know they're officially on the case. TMZ broke news that Diddy's legal team was on the hunt for a black female attorney, and Nicole's addition won't just be for optics, because they were hunting for someone who could bring some real legal firepower to what's shaping up to be a seriously tough battle. Nicole's joining the squad after this guy Anthony Rico left. He went back in February, and so diversity back in the mix. So they're doubling down on claims of racial bias, saying Mark is straight up saying it in their documentary, saying the downfall of Diddy in his defense. So it's going to turn into a big race thing. If you're not following it, it's their defense, and it's well underway. The doc also features a mock jury that deliberates and votes and more. Diddy's facing multiple counts, 2 counts trafficking, transportation, 1 count racketeering. He's pled guilty to all charges, but that happened, of course, and the DOJ was not happy about this. All these lawyers are coming in. So they sent this into the judge today. They said, Dear Judge, the government respectfully writes following the first day of jury selection that we covered yesterday, in the above captioned matter, and during the course of jury selection, despite the presence of 7 defense attorneys who have filed notices of appearance in this case and a jury consultant, the defense team appeared to consult with Mark Garagos, another lawyer, and other members of the Garagos and Garagos law firm who were also present in court. Mr. Garagos and his firm have a long-standing relationship with Diddy, as we saw this filed under seal, but neither Garagos nor any members of his firm have filed a notice of appearance in this case. So they're all hanging down there behind the bar, just chatting with the other attorneys. Now, nevertheless, given Garagos' apparent role as an advisor to the defendant Diddy and his defense team, the government respectfully requests the court to remind Mr. Garagos and members of his law firm that the rules state that no lawyer or law firm associated with the defense shall give any extrajudicial statements or interviews about anything, right? So make sure they're gagged. The need for the court to admonish them is necessary because 3 days ago, Mr. Garagos spoke at length length about the trial, in this case, in his podcast called Two Angry Men. On his podcast, they link it down here, with Harvey Levin, the creator of a tabloid news organization called TMZ. During the podcast, Garagos opined on a variety of topics, including characterizing specific pieces of evidence in the case, describing the government's use of the hotel video surveillance as character assassination, the makeup of the prosecution team handling this case, saying that it could look like you're prosecuting a cause, rather, right? Like all these like ladies, all these white chicks, they're like prosecuting a cause. Like it's going to turn into that. It's going to be pretty funny. Now, the arguments the defense makes, like it's like a bunch of like angry women who are just attacking a man because they hate men, right? That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be beautiful to watch. And arguments the defense intends to make, noting that the defendant has a violent temper, and especially I think when you combine it with drugs, but that isn't what he's charged with, right? They're going to admit to a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's assault. This is the point we made at the very beginning, at the very first indictment, we made these points. Now in the podcast, Garagos advises listeners that he'll be back next week to discuss it further. So like, no, you won't. As the defendant Diddy has repeatedly observed in other contexts, we have to avoid creating a carnival atmosphere in high profile cases. Yeah, right. Are you kidding me? That's why we're here. It's going to be a carnival. It's why we're here. Additionally, in seeking court intervention under the rule, Diddy has complained that lawyers for the government witnesses have commented on pretrial litigation. Yeah, and the DOJ leaks a lot too. Here for the same reasons, the government respectfully requests the court remind this lawyer and their defense team of the obligations under the rules. So, signed by Maureen Comey and Team White Chicks, who are probably going on Bezos's next aircraft outer space. So, they sent that in. The judge is like, what? All right, I'll deal with that. Judge Arun Subramanian, a new judge, I think took the bench in 2023, appointed by Joe Biden, brand new, probably doesn't have a lot of jury trial experience, in particular high profile experience like this. He issued a new order today saying that the government is no longer intending to introduce certain evidence that is at issue here. And so the prior docket is denied. We had a big battle over this. They also said these other motions are also resolved. Both motions are granted and denied in part. Here was one filing from Diddy. He filed this back in April saying, please take notice that we want to preclude evidence of victim three's whatever. Victim three's cell phones, deposition, testimony, whatever. Victim three, something. All precluded. But yesterday we heard that victim three might not even be coming to testify. Okay, so one victim and the related charges that are connected to that victim might be gone already before opening statements have even started. So Diddy and his attorneys doing a good job. Motion to preclude, get him out, get him out, get him out. Sign here, Mark Agnifilo, Tanny Garagos, sending that in. And now the DOJ is basically saying, we're not going to use that victim. So we don't really need to battle about those things. So these are resolved. Okay, the government is no longer going to introduce this, says the judge. So they communicated this to the judge. One victim is gone. Don't have a victim. Those charges are in trouble. So we'll see what ultimately happens on that. Maybe they can introduce the victim for other reasons, but here are the other filings. They were going to try to preclude expert testimony and from the government. So they're going to bring in an expert and the government tries to preclude the expert and they don't bring in the witness, then they don't need an expert. So this is all moot now. We don't need any of it. So Diddy is already winning essentially. Like one of the key victims, victim three, is no longer relevant is what it sounds like based on this judge's order. We're just going to rule on those things, kind of moot at this point because they're not even going to use that material. Now, the Daily Mail had some in-court renderings on what happened. They said Michael B. Jordan and Mike Myers came up, and there was a funny thing that happened here. So Mike Myers in the Austin Powers video, you can see, we'll play this short clip here, but Diddy showed up in this film, which I didn't even remember, but you can see there's Goldmember and there's Diddy on the booty right there. I basically gave you no warning about that at all, but it's right there, Diddy on the booty. So why is Mike Myers looking at what was Mike Myers' own booty with Diddy in his face? Remember from that movie? So then oh gosh, what happened? And I think the story is that Dr. Evil was actually in prison and had spent time with Diddy. Had E. Diddy. Oh, it says E. Diddy. So it's E. Diddy, not like P. Diddy. It's E. Diddy. Like, what is that? Weird. Now, the scene also features Beyonce. Mike Myers was coming out on that. Today, we had 6 jurors that have made it to the next round. Diddy was nodding his head in approval the whole time. He nodded when a black female juror talked about how her sister became addicted to crack and more. Here's some more in-court renderings. And here's this other scene, other photos. So we'll go into it. Now, there's Diddy in the courthouse, and he's trying to connect with jurors. He's kind of looking at them. Yeah, we appreciate you. Thank you for being here, which is just good practice. Everybody is super nice to the jurors, and your body language has to be like overly welcoming, right? Eye contact is like amazing. Yeah, it's great to see you. You look so beautiful. Smile. Hi. hi, welcome in. Everybody's so holding doors open, standing up at attention, honoring them, right, when they come in. And so Diddy is doing the same. Now let's go to the excerpts to see what is happening. Diddy trial, day 2, still in jury selection. Reporting coming to us courtesy of Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press presiding at the top of our timeline so you can follow along with this trial. We're in court, Southern District of New York. Everybody's hustling and bustling. Papers are shuffling around. Things are banging around. Suddenly, door bursts open. All rise! Stand up. Get up. Stand up. Put your phone down. Judge comes in, takes the bench, and has a seat. He says, good morning, everyone. Great to see you back here. Now, let's get going. Says, to get started, everyone in the room here, all these prospective jurors, we're still picking a jury, has already filled out a questionnaire about the case. And now I'm going to be asking you additional questions, and some may be about topics that are pretty difficult to discuss here. So we got your basic answers, and we read through the full questionnaire that the court provided to the jurors yesterday on day 1. But there's going to be some additional things, like based on what you answered there, we're going to have to dig in. Now, each side is going to have peremptory challenges. So once we get a nice bucket of potential jurors, each side will come out and strike some of you based on your answers and your responses to these questions. Now, you all have received a list of these questions. So what's going to happen now is you're going to be escorted out of this courtroom, and you're going to be back in courtroom 26B. You're just going to hang out there, okay? We're going to call you back in here one by one into courtroom 26A, so it'll be right next door. And then when you come in, we're going to show you a list of people and places. It's going to be in this big binder. Now, if you see or recognize anything, you just let us know, and then we'll ask you questions about that. Now, you may not be selected for your service here, but that's okay. We appreciate your time, and this has been a tremendous service, so thanks for being here, okay? Any problems? No. Anything else to address? No. Okay, so let's begin. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you. You'll be escorted right next door, and where do we want to start? Ladies and gentlemen, both sides. All right, let's start with Juror 48. Juror 48 comes in the courtroom, starts flipping through the binder. We're going to get into this pattern repeatedly. Any yes answers on that binder? Juror 48, she's a woman. She says, yeah, the crime victim question. You know, unfortunately, there was an attempted R towards me, and I really felt like the cops could have done a lot more. I'm just glad it didn't go any further. Judge says, wow, sorry to hear about that. Where did that happen to you? In the Bronx, she says. They arrested him, but he had a fake ID. I never even got a call back. Nice work. Okay, well, I'm sorry that happened. Sounds like New York. Could you still be fair in spite of that? Well, you know, it takes a lot of healing, she says. You have to believe in something and just give yourself grace. Like, why can't they help me? Judge says, are you in therapy for this? No, not now. You know, I have my own way of working through it. All right. Well, on your questionnaire, ma'am, you wrote that P. Diddy has money. You said something like he could buy his way out of that. Like, what did you mean by that? Oh, I don't know. I just wrote it down. Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for your attendance here. She leaves. She's excused. Okay. Buy his way out of that. She's excused for cause. U.S. attorneys, Maureen says, that's fine. Let her go. Next juror, 61, female. Hello, ma'am. It says here your father received some training. Can you tell me about that? Yeah, my father is faculty support for victims of sexual assault on campus in Indiana under Title 9 or 10. Title 9, says the judge. Has he spoke with you about it and would it impact you? No, he hasn't. Did you hear about this case? Yeah. Where? CNN. What's your opinion on that? Well, I lean negative toward him having committed some crimes, but you know, I don't know if he did or not. Could you be fair? Yes, I could. All right, go back to the other courtroom. Combs' attorney, Your Honor, we moved to strike that guy for cause. He says he's already got a bias. He's got to go. Judge says, yeah, I agree. He's excluded. All right, let's bring in the next one. So he's struck. Next, how about juror 88, woman? Hi, ma'am. Any yes answers to that binder? Yes, and I am in therapy for my knees. Your knees, says the judge. You're kidding. Yeah, I'd have to ask the therapist if I could come in on a Saturday. Or maybe you could go in late at night, or you could go early. She says, well, their call. I'll go in whenever they tell me I can go. Anything else? Well, my son works in Rockland County at the executive ADA. He handles criminal cases. My son is a prosecutor. Wow. Could you be fair? Well, I thought I could, but I don't know. Well, that's because you love your son, right? And he prosecutes people. And since he's a prosecutor, wouldn't it be hard for you to find somebody innocent if your son's a prosecutor? Well, I don't know. What I say is bias may not be what you say it is. So I don't know. I can't say I wouldn't be biased, but I would try. Okay, thank you, ma'am. You can head back. Judge, I strike the juror for cause. So we're at 0 for 3 today. 3 strikes and we're rolling. Juror 101 is a male. He comes in. Your Honor, I have a question. All right. He said, well, I have 7 stem stents in my heart. You know, I just really can't be here. He's like, you got 7 stents in your heart? All right, somebody get this dude a wheelchair and get him out of here. All right, thanks for your service. Next juror is a female. She comes in. Your Honor, I can't do this. Well, I can do it, but I have had harassment training, so I'm familiar with this. And I majored in psychology. Wow, interesting background, ma'am. Could you be fair in this trial? Yes, I could. And my mother also was in a car crash, so I have been in litigation before. It was fatal. Rest in peace, Mom. We had a lawsuit, and my sister, she got into crack, and she got abused, and she later died of cancer. Poor woman. Lost everybody. Juror leaves. All right, any applications from her to strike? Neither side objects. She's in the pool. Juror 137 is next up. Ma'am, do you know who somebody on the list? Yeah, I know a Robert Dunn from high school, but I don't know if it's the same guy because that's pretty a common name, so I'm not real sure. All right, well, where'd you go to high school? Trinity High School. My father was a psychiatrist, and I know many people. Well, what do you do? I'm a realtor with Sotheby's, and I know a lot of lawyers too. I and my brother, we're in the surrogates court on our father's estate. We had to fight to get what the will said. You know, this is going to sound incredible, but I mean, we were in litigation for like 10 years. My father and I were on the I-95, and a rock was thrown down on us, and I saw a clip of the defendant, Diddy, by the hotel elevator in a towel, and there was a woman on the ground, and I can't recall it. I believe he's in jail in New York City or something. All right, thanks for all that. Could you be fair with all this? Yes. You wrote in your form that you're unsure. Well, I don't know if that video is a part of the case. I mean, I would listen to your instructions and just do what you tell me to do. All right, thank you, sir. Defense attorney. Your Honor, we know that a closed variant of that video will be played at trial. Now, he said he wants to be fair, but doesn't sound like he can. He's already made his mind up. Prosecutor, we don't object, Your Honor. All right, he's excluded. Next, 143. Male comes in. Your Honor, you know, I read an article going home from the courthouse about the jury selection process. The judge says, what? You weren't supposed to read about the case. I told you that yesterday. He said, well, I did. I didn't go on a computer. I just read it from my phone. I didn't know it meant my phone too. I just read who got excluded. The judge said, okay. Well, my wife is a child cancer psychologist. He says, okay, where's that at? New York University, Langone. And I'm a lawyer. So the lawyer can't follow instructions from the judge. I'm a lawyer. Well, I told you not to read the news. Well, I'm not that good of a lawyer, so I don't really know what you told me to do. So judge's like, all right, I'm going to disbar you. So what's your license number? Because you're now done. Where? In-house at Transact with a Z, called Transact. I clerked in the Maryland State Attorney's Office. Sounds about right. And I was arrested for a DUI. Juror 143 says, my wife and I were also victims of ID theft and credit card theft too. When that happen? A week ago? Combs' lawyer, Your Honor, I have a question. Judge says in a minute. How did you find the article yesterday? He says, well, I was on my phone on Metro North. You know, I was just like looking at the news and I read about the Diddy trial. Oh, okay. So then that attorney leaves, probably went back on CNN. Prosecutor says, Your Honor, we're concerned about this guy. This juror is a trained lawyer, but he didn't obey. He literally read about jury selection to you. Told you that. Defense attorney says, well, I'm not concerned enough for a cause challenge, Your Honor. He was honest, and we object to the U.S.'s motion. So Combs wants this dude on. I don't know why or what for, but Combs wants him on. He disclosed it. He said he was honest. He read it. Your Honor, he clicked it. He had to click it, like voluntarily to click it. Judge says, all right. Well, I'll strike juror 143 for cause. The lawyer is now struck. He can go back to CNN. Juror 149 comes in. It's a man. He says, Your Honor, you know, I had a 4-week rotation into psychiatry in my medical training. I'm at Mount Sinai in surgical pathology, and I've been an expert witness in 4 or 5 cases. So I've done this many times before. So I'm familiar with it. And also my son was beaten up and he had his cell phone stolen while he was at George Washington University. Well, who beat your son up? I was told it was by 3 young black men. Would you be biased since your son got attacked and robbed by 3 young black men? He says, well, you know, people are people. Judge says, I don't know how that means, right? Well, you know, people are people, or you could say people are people. I don't know. I will not strike him for cause. Both sides say he's fine. So he's in the pool. Next juror comes in. He's a male. Your Honor, I said I might be elected officer in my union, but no, it's not going to happen. So my schedule changed. So I'm not going to start a new job on June 16th. But yeah, one of these questions, my wife was actually a victim of her uncle. What? By who? Her uncle. You know, in our culture, it was swept under the rug when that happened. He says, what culture is that? He says, Puerto Rican. Mostly everyone saw the video of the defendant, Diddy, and his ex-girlfriend. Yeah, and you wrote on your form that he looked angry and hostile and entitled. Did you say that? Yeah, I did. Could you be fair? Yeah. And neither side objects, so he stays in. Incredible. Wow. 160 comes in. Do you personally know any of the people on the list, ma'am? I wish I did, but no. Unfortunately. Like, no. All these Hollywood celebrities? No, I don't. Thanks, though. I once, with my ex-boyfriend, supported him in his child support case. That's the only litigation I had. And then he left me as I was helping him fight for his children. Any questions for this woman? No. She goes, oh, well, that was easy. She's in. She leaves. Next juror comes in. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I designed kitchens in Yonkers, and I might get commission for that. Well, if you're here for 8 weeks, what percent of your income would be hit by that? It says 30%, I think. You know, I could survive it. My wife is suing my landlord, so maybe she'll get some money. For what? Says the judge. Repairs. And I have friends who've been assaulted too. And one of my brothers went to jail for robbery and another one went for fraud. They're both home now, out of prison now. But on the news, I saw this trial was coming up. It's been all over the news, including this morning. It was on in my house. He says, you weren't supposed to watch the news, for the love of God. So the juror then leaves. Both sides, okay. They're like, well, that's fine. It's good enough. It's fine. He can stay in. My mother, says juror 175, new juror. She's a cancer survivor. Shout out to our cancer survivor mamas. I take her to appointments at Jacoby Hospital in the Bronx. My nephew was a gang member and he shot a police officer. They dropped the charges and he's supposed to come out in July, but that's all in state court. Judge says, all right, well, how's your English? Sometimes reading it's hard, you know, difficult words. Well, can you sit here and read emails and my legal instructions? I think I can. At the hospital, I distribute the supplies and many things are disposable. And so that juror now leaves. Government says, no, Your Honor, we want to strike that guy. Defense says, no, we think he'll be fine. The text messages in this case are in simple English. So we object to their motion to strike him. Prosecutor, come on. These texts, they're abbreviated. They're typos. He doesn't even speak English. These are hard to interpret. Judge says, I'm not going to exclude him for cause, but with peremptories, you can decide what to do. Now we had another female juror come out. On the questionnaire says, I said I hadn't seen the defendant on TV, but I did. I saw him. And I have been traumatized before. Back in the Ivory Coast in war, it was a lot of things. So you're saying you can't be on the jury because you've been traumatized? Yes, I cannot. He says, okay, you're excused. 180 comes in. She's a female. Your Honor, we once had to evict someone from a commercial warehouse in Mexico. And also I get stomach aches too. I'm just not 100%. I might have to take bathroom breaks and I'm sorry, Your Honor, there's too much information, I know, but I got a sour stomach and it's just not. Judge says, well, can you sit through a movie? Like, can you, or do you have to go like in the middle of a movie? Because like, that's what we do. It's like, you know, 90 minutes. Yes, I can. Also, I feel guilt. Why? Anything about in your religious beliefs that would bias you? He says, well, because I am Catholic, I think I am very tolerant. And that is true. Catholics tolerate a bunch of crap that we shouldn't. And Combs also says, the defense team, no questions, Your Honor. Prosecutor passes forward a question. The judge reads it. Oh, what was your surgery for? She says female things and I had COVID. So a couple of issues. She's excluded. They take a break. Thank you to Inner City Press for reporting. And we're back. Next juror, female, comes in. I was a jury captain in Philadelphia 20 years ago. I've seen the Diddy video and I found it to be quite disturbing. Okay, even though you saw it, could you be fair? Yes. She's in the pool. 184 comes in. He's a man. I'm a security guard. Where do you work? Canva. And I'm a social worker too. Diddy's lawyer passes up a question. Judge says, well, what kind of social worker are you? I handle child neglect. Okay, and could you be fair? Yep. No objections. In the pool. 194 female says, I work for the nonprofit called Argus. I'm a vocational counselor. With who? Mika. Well, what's that? It's called Mentally Ill Chemical Addiction Center. Oh. And you say you were the victim of a crime? Yeah, the girlfriend of my ex assaulted me. Okay. Female's girlfriend of an ex. Got it. She saw me. She was upset that he dated me. Got it. I was physically assaulted and my nose was broken. My vision in my knee. Sheesh. I filed a police report because that crazy chick attacked me. Could you be fair? Well, certain testimony about violence, I don't know. It might make me go a certain way. She leaves. The judge says, you're gone. Female comes in. 199. Hi, Your Honor. I'm a freelance worker. So if I'm not working, I'm not getting paid. All right. Well, I'm going to excuse you for cause then. 201 comes in. He's a male. I have a friend who was a detective in Florida. My son's a security guard at Mercy College, and I was on a jury in the Bronx. Could you be fair? Yep. In the pool. 204 is a female. I work for an imports company importing avocados. My uncle was in New York police. Would you be biased for law enforcement? Yeah, definitely. All right, great. You're excused. 208, female comes in. My son graduates the second week of June from high school. I heard a song about this case on a Russian comedy channel. He says, you're out. 210's a male comes in from the Bronx. Are you in court right now? Yeah, I'm evicting a tenant. Well, is there anything about the race of the defendant that would cause you not to be fair? He says, no, but I use marijuana. He says, well, can you not use it during the trial? I'm going to order that. He says, okay, fine. I guess I'll stop smoking right now. Puts it out. Were you arrested for marijuana? Nope, comes forward. Yeah, I was in New Jersey. I paid a fine. That was it. I was going to say, when did you last use marijuana? He's like, last night. And I might have liked something about Diddy on X. I don't remember. Well, what have you seen in this video? I did see the video of Combs getting arrested. I might have clicked like on that. Like, you know, like I liked it. Combs and the defense passes written question forward. Would not using marijuana be hard card for you? He says, yes. He's like, yes, I'm jonesing for one right now. Prosecutor says, all right, excuse him, Judge. The judge says, yes, he was honest, but that dude is just looking for a toke right now. Juror 210, male comes in. He says, Your Honor, as a father of 2 young children and a daughter, I'm concerned about beating women. Well, could you be fair? Yeah, I can. Well, I used to work at Credit Suisse, and now I work in collectibles. I collect baseball cards, comic books. My wife's on social media. She loves TMZ. Prosecutor sends forward a question. Judge says, well, what's the most valuable baseball card you've ever seen? That's a fun question. Honus Wagner. Ooh. Has your wife spoken to you about this case? Yeah, she did. I think about a month ago. She asked me, did he do it? Did you express an opinion? He says, OMG, man, that's a big accusation. I don't know. It's a big one. I don't know. Did he do it? He leaves. Defense says, Your Honor, we want him out. This man has an agenda, okay? He tried to backpedal to get on the jury. He's turning to the parties and selling himself. He's trying to get on this jury. Says, yeah, Judge says, yeah, I've got it. I know. He'll be struck. Laughs. He's like, selling it. No, that'd be great for you. Pick me. Now, you asked out of bias, Your Honor. He said no. Okay, Maureen, chill. He's out. 216 comes in. It's a man. Says, I work for New York City Transit Department. Says, well, you got crimes? Yeah, I was charged with assaulting a police officer. It got dismissed, though. What happened? Well, I was on the 102nd in Lexington. A police officer was bracing up on me. They searched me, and I put him in a chokehold because he's, infringing on my rights. And, police can get handsy. Would you be biased against the police? He says, well, I used to be. Now I know some officers. I mean, I could have complied. Then I was arrested with a gravity knife, and I had to pay a fine. Well, you ever a victim of a crime? Well, I woke up from being unconscious, and my sneakers had been stolen. So New York is wild, man. 216 says, one of my sisters said that she was AR'd in college. Another said she was abused by our stepfather. We never talked about it. She was accused of stabbing her husband. Obviously have some issues. I had to pick up her kids from the precinct. They are separated now. I wasn't there. Man, this dude has been through it. Prosecutor passes forward a question. Says, when your sneakers were stolen, did you feel the police didn't do enough? He says, yeah, at the time. Judge says, do you have issues with the police? What do you mean, issues with the police? Can you be fair? Is the question. Yes. You said you learned about this case on YouTube? Shout out. Well, that's how I get my news. My man. I saw the incident by the elevator in the hotel. I don't really remember how I felt about it, and he's gone. Your Honor, we moved to strike this man for cause. He watches YouTube. He's had negative interactions with police. Defense says, we love this dude. We oppose striking him. He's grown up, okay? He gave answers that were honest and revealing. And stop and frisk was controversial back then. You don't want to be frisked up by some cops. There were 3 interactions with law enforcement, and the 2010 was also for harassing an officer, so I don't think we can really keep him if he's got harassing an officer. Defense says, we could redo his question, ask him about it. Prosecutor, Your Honor, no. No, he was arrested twice after his epiphany, okay? So he was like, I learned about the cops. He got arrested twice again. He breaks the law. Your Honor, he put it in his questionnaire. He was honest about all of this. We could bring him back. So let's bring him back. He'll be great. Judge says, okay, we'll do 217 first. She comes in. No, I have no yes answers. I look nothing. Okay, that's it. You can go back. Thanks. No grounds to strike her. 216 comes back. All right, listen, man, what was that 3rd incident? He says, they was shutting down a party. The officer pushed me and I pushed him back. So judge says, okay, well, I'm not going to strike 216. Push the cops back. So 223 comes in, says, hey, sir, you're going to need to take off your hat. He says, well, I have Crohn's disease. It attacks my bowels and I need the bathroom once an hour. It's a big problem here. Well, we'll do 2 to 3 hours in a row. So you're not going to be able to use the bathroom for 2 to 3 hours. He says, no, I need it once an hour. 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon. Man, that sucks. Hopefully he gets better. 227 comes in. The list, looking through it, he's a male. I don't know. A lot of names on this list. I don't know. I'm going to excuse you for cause because you can't read. Next person, male comes in, takes the witness stand. Judge says, oh, are you reading there? It's called David Sedaris. Oh, nice. Could you discuss sexual matters with others if you're on this case? Yeah. Defense passes forward a question. Judge says, sir, you wrote that you understand that Combs was accused by a producer of forcing him into having intercourse. I think I heard it on NPR. He says, I don't really care for celebrity news. I'm an engineer. No objections. He's in the pool. Next woman comes in. Says, Your Honor, quite frankly, I can't speak about sex, okay? In school, a teacher brought up that thing and I fainted. I excuse you for cause. I saw social media, says some dude. Nothing too deep. A video at the hotel, that was it. Everything in here is circumstantial. Saying the LA lifestyle is different than how I was brought up. Well, what are you saying the LA lifestyle is, says the judge. Fast and loose. I have a friend who worked with NetJets. I have a vacation in late June also. And I have an uncle who's a sheriff in California. What do you do for work? I'm an airline pilot. Which airline? American. Your Honor, I asked to exclude that guy. You can't unring that bell, he wrote. Well, he was just trying to be honest. I think he's fine. He said he could be fair. I'm not going to exclude him. We come back with 242. He's a another male. Says, Your Honor, I'm in the middle of a personal injury case. I was assaulted in my father's house in Queens. I was assaulted by my stepmother. So I'm in a probate case over my late father's estate. Fighting over money, stepmama comes and beats him over the head. All right, you also have a merger and acquisition transaction that's going on. All right, you're excused. Too much law. Another guy, 247. Yeah, Your Honor, I definitely saw that video. I saw the elevator, but I can be fair. He's in. 252 is a male. I work at the New York City Department of Investigation. My fiance does too. We looked into bid rigging, stolen time, fraud against the city. I know a couple of people where the girlfriend stabbed the boyfriend and he died. One couple. The girlfriend was found not guilty. And I work with the Southern District of New York right now. He says, yeah, you're working with them right now? Yeah, it's a criminal fraud case. All right, we got to strike you. You got to go. Next person is a male, 257. Your Honor, my wife was a uniformed victim advocate in the Marine Corps in South Carolina, so I could be biased in favor of the alleged victim. You're gone. Next one. I have difficulty with English. You're gone. Judge says, why is this happening? Why can't anybody speak here? He says, I asked the parties to agree to set aside some jurors with issues like this. It takes us 5 minutes every time you bring in one of these people. We're running out of time. I wanted you to have time to prepare for trial. I thought you guys were going to work this out. It's ridiculous. Bring in the next one. 262. Your Honor, I worked for Diageo and I was assaulted when I was 19. Judge says, oh my God, again? Another one? Okay, I'm sorry this happened to you, but could you be on this case? He says, well, if the defense says they didn't report it, I'd understand why they didn't report it because I didn't report it. So I will be biased for the victims. Like, all right, you're struck. Now we got group questions coming in. So they bring everybody back in from the morning rounds. All right, you all made it past the initial rounds. Group questions. I want to know give me some basic info about you and I'll ask follow-up questions if I need to. Okay, starting with you. Juror 131, answer the questions on the board. All right, I am 65 years old. I live alone in Westchester. I am a manager of operations at Her Justice. I'm not married, no children. News, The Today Show, Essence Magazine, not really a TV person, but I do watch Chicago PD, Fire Med, and I listen to R&B. Thank you. Judge says, well, what is Her Justice? What is that? It's legal services for women. Oh gosh. So Diddy's going to want to strike her peremptorily. Next, tell me about you. Yeah, I'm a kitchen designer. My wife is an investigator for New York City. She does homeless services and stuff. I get my news on Facebook. I like Law and Order and I like hip hop. Diddy's like, my man. Now, juror, another one says, well, I live with my wife, Judy Cho, and she's a physician at Mount Sinai. Dude loves his wife. He's like, she's amazing. Look her up. Another juror, I watch Ohio State football and I like the Dave Brubeck group and I run. It says here, your son's a lawyer? Yeah, for Mayor Brown. 157 says, well, I'm a patient billing liaison. That's what I do. My wife works at TJX. I've got a daughter who works at New Balance and a manager for the whole store. She's doing amazing. Also at Trader Joe's. Says, I watch Lester Holt. Oh gosh. I read The Atlantic, ESPN, Knicks, Mets, Liberty. My wife watches Chicago Fire, Weekend Warrior, I Shoot Hoops, and more. This guy, 160, New York Presbyterian in Bronxville. My husband's a software developer. I get my news from pop-ups on my phone. I read PubMed. I watch Netflix. Don't have regular TV. R&B and hip hop, baby. And I work with teens. 201 lives in Westchester. Alone for now. Sad. I work for Central National. My son's a security guard. I turn on 1010 to get the news. Netflix, Amazing Race, woodworking, and bike riding. Cool. 41, this dude, Hell's Kitchen with my spouse. Unemployed since Thursday. Child-free by choice. Stuck in the early 2000s EMO. And Billy Joel, because I'm my grandfather's daughter. I'm scuba certified. He says, what at the WWE? He says, the bio on Steve Austin. So 216 is 38 years old, lives in the Bronx, works for the MTA. Wife works in the skin cancer department. Kids 2, 10, and 12. Gets the news from YouTube. I read Men's Health, hip hop, reggaeton, bachata, and salsa. He says, I was at Jewish school for the blind. No children. I watch CBS, ABC, and I like classical music. Juror 184 is 39, lives in the Bronx with his brother. Works for Jewish Child Care Association. No kids, news from YouTube. Sports on FS1, Afrobeat music. 183 lives with his wife. Con Ed, no children. Completed one course at Temple. Shops on Amazon. Watches Housewives and basketball. House music, some gospel, and more. 163 lives in the Bronx. Works at a hospital. 255 is 87. She lives in Manhattan alone, retired. I work for Navy Ship Repair in San Diego. My daughter worked at United, another with Molson Coors, and Condé Nast. 230 is 57, is an architect, reads The Athletic, likes Severance, good show, and likes rock alternative. 240 is 45, lives in Manhattan, pilot for American Airline, lives on YouTube, Reddit, Disney+, fly and instructs, and is part of the Manhattan Flight Club. 40 years old, living in Manhattan, expertise is oncology, reads The New Yorker, watches HBO, and the lawyers are called up. Let me see the lawyers at the sidebar, says the judge. Judge says, jurors, you're finished today. Thank you for being here. Do not read anything about the case or post anything about it. Prosecutor, Your Honor, we propose not bringing back 5 more jurors. Here's what we propose. Defense says, we agree 282, 289, and 304. We propose strikes 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, adjourn. And so that's what they've got there for us, courtesy of Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, reporting, giving us the latest details on the jury. And so let's see if the Daily Mail has any finality on any numbers or any updates. But as we see, jury selection looks like it's still continuing on, and we'll be here covering it. So it's a slog to get through the jury selection, but we're getting a taste of what the jury feels like, and we're going to see some additional filings, no doubt about it, as the days count down until opening arguments. So we'll be here covering it. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do.